Hey everybody, Dr. G here. I'm a clinical and forensic psychologist as well as a body language expert, and today we're going to be analyzing the behavior and body language of U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi. Before we get started with this, a couple of quick things. One, I wanted to make sure you know this is not a psychological evaluation of any kind. These are just my opinions. In addition to that, I do want to remind you to like and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. All right, let's go. What we're going to be analyzing today is a DOJ oversight hearing by the Senate Judiciary Committee. In particular, we're going to be looking at Pam Bondi as she responds to questions about both President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. All right, let's just jump right in.
Attorney General Bondi, why did you publicly claim to have the Epstein client list waiting for your review and then produce nothing relevant to that claim?
Senator Durbin, if you listen...
So you can see this little flub right here. We can all trip over our words, but I want you to keep in mind that suggests that she's getting more into the emotional side of her brain than the logical one. The more on the emotional side of the brain we are, the harder it is for us to get out things like this. So that this question may actually be something she feels strongly about. So that may be tripping her up a little bit.
Senator Durbin, if you listen to my entire clip on that, I said I...
Now watch what her chin does right here.
Senator Durbin, if you listen to my entire...
So as you can see, her chin goes down, which is a protective gesture because our neck is very vulnerable. So when this is brought up, Pam Bondi seems to feel uncomfortable with this. This seems to be an area where she feels a bit defensive.
Senator Durbin, if you listen to my entire clip on that, I said I had not reviewed it yet, that it was sitting on my desk along with the JFK files, the Martin Luther King files. And I said I had not yet reviewed it.
So as you may have noticed, her hands are basically not moving at all. She's sitting very still outside of her head. And what that can imply is that she's trying to hide to an extent. When we're responding to something and we don't want to focus on it, we tend to move less. Unconsciously, we think, if I don't move, I'm less likely to be noticed. So to me, this suggests that there could be some deception around this response.
I said I had not reviewed it yet, that it was sitting on my desk along with the JFK.
See, she was fidgeting her hands a little bit, but as soon as she started saying, I said it was sitting on my desk along with JFK and so forth, immediately her fingers stopped moving.
Files, the Martin Luther King files. And I said I had not yet reviewed it. And if you see our memo on Epstein, you will see, our memo on Epstein clearly points out that there was no client list, our July 6th memo. You also didn't let me respond to the Haida.
Let's go back and listen to how she responds to that, because she never fully responded to the question. Listen to what Senator Durbin asks, and then listen to how Pam Bondi responds.
Attorney General Bondi, why did you publicly claim to have the Epstein client list waiting for your review and then produce nothing relevant to that claim?
Senator Durbin, if you listen to my entire clip on that, I said I had not reviewed it yet.
So she's just specifying what she said in that clip.
That it was sitting on my desk along with the JFK files, the Martin Luther King files. And I said I had not yet reviewed it. And if you see our memo on Epstein, you will see, our memo on Epstein clearly points out that there was no client list.
Our memo points out there was no client list, not I never saw a client list, I didn't have a client list. She never stated that.
Going back to the Epstein files, according to another whistleblower who made a protected disclosure to my office, you pushed the FBI to review approximately 100,000 Epstein-related records on an arbitrarily short deadline in March, and the FBI was directed to flag any documents that mentioned President Trump. Nothing came of that review until July, when DOJ and FBI released an unsigned memo stating, quote, there's no incriminating client list. Why was the July 7th memo unsigned?
The July 7th memo came from the FBI and the Department of Justice. Director Patel answered those questions very clear. And, you know, Senator Durbin, I find it very interesting that you...
Now, I want you to pay attention to how little the Attorney General moves when being asked questions about Epstein or when she's responding to those questions versus when she starts to make her own points that are not relevant to her investigation or the Department of Justice's investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. Watch her body. I talked before about how we sit very still to not be noticed. You're going to notice a distinct difference between her response and then when she starts to make her own point.
7th memo unsigned.
The July 7th memo came from the FBI and the Department of Justice. Director Patel answered those questions very clear.
So, once again, a non-response basically said Director Patel answered those questions. You saw very little movement.
And You know, Senator Durbin, I find it very interesting that you refused repeated Republican requests to release the Epstein flight logs in 2023 and 2024. You fought that. Did you take money from Reid Hoffman campaign donations?
Never
Who was
heard.
a huge
Now we're seeing more of this body language. Now she's opening up. Now she's actually giving you something because she does not seem to want to respond to questions about Jeffrey Epstein. She's not answering them. She's providing responses that it's been answered elsewhere. She's not directly responding to basically anything that's being asked. But now that she's making her own points, now you're seeing animation. Now she wants to be seen.
Did you take money from Reid Hoffman campaign donations?
Never
Who was
heard.
Now, see that facial expression? That was meant to show disgust. She's backing up. She's frowning. She's meant to suggest that she feels disgusted as she's talking about this. The idea that somebody took campaign donations from Reid Hoffman. Watch this face right here.
Did you take money from Reid Hoffman campaign donations?
Eyebrows up, backing up, eyes closed, mouth down in a disgusted position. This is meant to show disgust at what she's saying.
That. Did you take money from Reid Hoffman campaign donations?
Never
Who was a
heard.
huge Epstein friend? Why did you fight for years? Why did you fight to not disclose the flight logs, Senator Durbin? Reid Hoffman.
So who gave the order to flag records related to President Trump?
To flag records for President Trump?
To flag any records which included his name.
See, this is trying to feign confusion right here.
To flag records for President Trump?
And I say feign confusion because anybody that's been following this has at least heard the accusation or the suggestion that the Department of Justice went and flagged any records with President Trump's name. Now, she's not saying, well, that didn't happen. She's just showing confusion on her face, which doesn't really make sense because obviously, even if she disagrees with what's being said, she would know what that's in reference to. So I say this does not seem to be an authentic look of confusion.
To flag records for President Trump?
To flag any records which included his name.
And you saw the head shake afterwards. So that's obviously non-verbally her trying to disagree with this idea.
I'm not going to discuss anything about that with you, Senator.
So as she's saying this, she's leaning forward, hands crossed. She's not blinking at all. She's feeling very direct right now. She does not seem to feel threatened, does not seem to be anxious, does not seem to be concerned as she's responding this way.
I'm not going to discuss anything about that with you, Senator.
Eventually, you're going to have to answer for your conduct in this. You won't do it today, but eventually you will. I yield, Mr. Chairman.
Let me ask you something else. There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money.
So obviously the tone of hers is angry right now, but she's actually showing very little as far as emotion on her face. Watch this right here.
Safe or premises or otherwise. Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one.
So the body language we're seeing right now is someone who is confident and feels fully in control right now. So even if she's expressing emotion, we're really not seeing it because I don't think she's feeling it very strongly.
Who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe. I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman.
See, I could be wrong. When she said that, her hands open up. That shows vulnerability. I could be wrong. So it does show that her emotions are tied to her body language, but it also shows that the composure that she has is very intentional, that she's not trying to show how she really feels, that she's trying to maintain as much composure as possible throughout these proceedings.
With Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. And the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released.
And she opens up her body when she talks about somebody else blocking the flight logs. So she really wants people to focus on this. So she really has what she wants to say here. Seems somewhat less interested in answering very directly the questions that are being asked of her.
Block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump.
And this hand signal is supposed to be, that's got nothing to do with me, that has to do with the senator. So this is her way of saying, I have nothing to do with the flight logs not being released.
Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein? Come on.
The question
And now you can see the anger in her brow, the idea that this question being asked is not acceptable or that it makes her angry. Now she wants you to see that. That's intentional.
Tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein?
This is a look of disapproval, the anger in the brow, squinting of the eyes. She wants the senator to know she doesn't approve of these questions.
Come on.
The question is, did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly?
All right, we'll go ahead and stop here. Hopefully this is helping you better understand some of the behavior and body language that we saw today. What we saw from Attorney General Pam Bondi was a mix of defensiveness and confidence. At times she was very confident. She knew exactly what she wanted to say, and she was unwavering. We saw very little in terms of body language at those times, other than she was going to say exactly what she wanted to say. At times, she appeared a bit more defensive when there were questions she didn't seem to want to answer. And she was effective at deflecting those answers, and her body language did suggest some degree of defensiveness at those times. If you have any thoughts about this, please let me know in the comments below. And if there's anything else you'd like me to analyze, I'd also like to hear about that. Last thing before we get finished up is I do want to remind you to like and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. All right, thanks for watching.